Welcome to the Homeschool Together podcast. Where one working mom and a stay-at-home dad help you navigate the nuts and bolts of the growing and dynamic world of homeschooling.
With a focus on early learners, like me.
All the ins and outs of building and maintaining your homeschool life.
Homeschool.
Find out tips and tricks to make things like this easier.
I'm reading.
And ultimately, enjoy educating your kids. And what's that last thing?
Have fun together. Did I do good, Daddy?
Yeah, you did, sweetie. Good job. Hello and welcome to Homeschool Together. Thanks so much for joining us. Today we're going to have a little bit of a curriculum review, but if you have a chance, head down to the show notes. Give us a sweet, tasty, salty, but 5-star review on iTunes. That'd be really nice if you could do that. If you have a chance to support the podcast, you can tell that stranger in the elevator that you've heard the best podcast you've ever heard in the Homeschool Together. Always enjoy talking to random strangers on the street and tell them about our podcast. That'd be wonderful.
Yeah. If you could spread the word, we would appreciate it.
That would be wonderful. Just as a kind of a summary of where we are with our English language curriculum, we have done all about reading, level 1, right, Ariel? Level 1, or am I getting the A and B thing confused with Right Start Math? I always get the two things.
Yes,
I'm doing a curriculum.
All about reading is level 1.
I'm doing the blue one.
Yeah, that's level 1.
I got the green one. I just did the blue one.
That's right. Yeah, right starts in alpha.
Yeah, I'm a simple potato farmer. All right, I don't understand all the numbers. So I did the all about reading. I did the teach your child how to learn to read and not cry about it in 100 lessons. I would advise you to do that after the age of 6. And then we're kind of doing this kind of an eclectic mix now, where we started to do the Explode the Code book 1.
Yeah, we just finished it.
Which looks like they commissioned a 4.5-year-old to do all the fan art of the book on the front cover.
Yeah.
It's very amazing drawings. I mean, good drawings.
One thing I would say about this book is, so this level 1 is going to be the kinder, first grade kind of, it's in that zone. These don't map perfectly
more
to
kinder level. Yeah, we're talking about like the things you're going to do in this book are probably maybe the first 20 lessons in the All About Reading, maybe a little bit less. It might be the first 20, 25, 30 lessons in the 100 lessons book. Mm-hmm. So you can think about where this book will be placed.
Right. Now, this Explode the Code is a full curriculum, ELA curriculum, or not ELA, it's probably incorrect. It's a phonics-based curriculum. So, but it is a full curriculum, and some people use this completely. We have a friend that this is what they use, mm-hmm. And this is what our kindergarten teacher recommends people to use. So, we were able to get a copy of it from the school, our parent partnership, and get to use it. So we wanted to do a review for you all. So tell me what your initial impressions were of Explode the Code, since you did this with our daughter.
It was very basic, very easy to do. It's about 100 pages long, the whole workbook. So if you can imagine, okay, I'm going to do maybe level 1, level 2. They have numbers 1 and 2 on the top of the book. Maybe doing those 2 as like your kindergarten curriculum.
It's supposed to be kinder first grade, according to their website.
According to their website, yeah. And so like you're thinking about like, how long am I going to do this? Maybe 1 page a day type of thing. We were doing about 3 or 4 pages a day because I was using it as kind of a review, really focusing on her reading and articulating and the words and doing the mastery of the reading with confidence. And that's really a big key thing that me and my daughter are really focusing on. She's probably tired of me saying it. I wonder if you should read it with confidence. Read it with confidence. Yeah. And that was what we really focused on this. And it took us about a month and a half to go through this whole book at that kind of that clip. So really short, but very playful, very cool. Big pictures, big spaces to write in, big things to circle. So it was very active. Is it obviously a workbook? So there's no manipulatives. There's no tear out pages. Right. There's no letter cards. There's no repetition of like review these letter cards every day, like kind of with an all about reading. Yeah. None of that. but it does build on itself. So it does start with very simple letters, really focuses on the phonetics. Really, the thing that I saw, it kind of was coupling this idea of learning the phonetic words, the phonetic sounds of what you're reading, reading those words, seeing images that correspond to those words, and then writing those words that correspond to those images. And they kind of just rotated through those concepts. And so it was really kind of like cycling and feeding back in on itself. And they would do that. I think there were maybe 10 sections. So each section was about 8 or 9 pages long. And every section, I think, pretty much repeated itself, like with respect to what you're going to be doing. But obviously it differed because you were focusing on different letter sounds, different letter combinations. This first book really focused on the vowel combinations, a lot of CVC words, a lot of reading practice, really centered around, the basic basic short vowel sounds. So no long vowel sounds, no weird letter combinations like SH or CH, no alternative sounds where like the letter C has both the K sound and the S sound. None of that. So it's very basic, short vowels, basic letter sounds, no odd sounds, no second or third order sounds that are associated with certain letters. So very simple, very visually based. So if you have a visual learner, and they like to look at pictures and associate that with certain words, is very, very helpful there. Really like that. There's a lot of circling. There's a lot of handwriting. That was the big thing that I liked about this was more than anything, there was a lot of handwriting in this book. Yeah. It almost, dare I say, can double as a handwriting curriculum as well, because almost every page there's some level of handwriting, whether she's writing the words, whether she's writing, and I'm just thumbing through the book right now, and I'm actually seeing her handwriting improving through the book, and it was just a month and a half. Like, yeah, you can look at it, like her handwriting's getting a lot better. You can see that there compared to, where she was at the beginning where it was like really big. Here, I'm showing these to Ariel. Nobody can see this, but you see where her handwriting was.
Yeah,
there?
No, I was
just a month
and
a half. That. Like, you're looking at like what she did like the end of today.
Yeah, it's all printing based.
It's all print based, yeah. There's no cursive.
So this Explode the Code level 1 here is not actually the first book in the series.
Yeah,
there are these
stuff.
Get Ready for the Code books like A, B, and C that are meant to be used as a pre-KK, which are going to go through all of your letter sounds. So if you want to start with that first, you can before you get here. One comment I would make about this is it is completely black and white. So if you have a learner who really is engaged by color and you need something that's going to pop, you might want to look at like an Evan Moore Skill Sharpeners type of book, because this is all black and white. The other thing that is important to mention is that this doesn't include any stories. No. This is just words. Do you want to kind of walk through some typical type of activities that are in this book?
Yeah, so I just opened to a random lesson, like lesson 7. This is pretty deep into the book, so you've already learned all your basic vowel sounds. They open up the lesson with basically a recognition of those sounds, and they provide you with a number of images. And you have to circle that, with that image that corresponds with that vowel sound. So for example, the first one was the A sound, a short A sound, so ah. They had a door, an apple, and a balloon. And your learner had to look at those images, understand what those things are, and find the word that either started with that vowel or has the dominant vowel in that word, or it's like a short CVC word that has that as the only vowel. So like things like apple obviously has 2 vowels in it, but it leads with apple, with ah. Balloon obviously has an O, an A and an O, but it doesn't have a dominant sound there. So they hear ba, and so they go, okay, that's not the word. You have another example like they have like button or something of that nature. You're not going to hear that sound. It's not going to lead with that sound. They tend to lead with just like things like alligator or igloo, umbrella. So it kind of leads with that short vowel sound as like the lead thing. The next activity is pretty cool. It has the word. So let's say fill. And your learner then has to write that word fill below in the available letter space. And then they are presented again with 3 images. And one of those images corresponds to the word fill. In this case, there's a pitcher filling up a glass of water. The other images that they provided you was like a spoon and a flower. And your learner has to identify, this is obviously the one that is fill, and they have to circle that. So there's a lot of like word, read the word, write the word, find the word in the image. Next one was actually kind of cool. They're presented with an image, and then they're presented with this is a CVC word, so 3-letter word. So for example, I'll use the first one as an example. There's a squirrel with a nut, and there's an arrow pointed at the nut. And so then they're provided with a selection for each letter. So the first field is an N or an S, and they have to know, okay, this is a nut, so they have to circle the N, and the next selection is a U or an N, and they go, okay, okay, so I'm going to circle the U, and the final one was a T and an L, and they have to circle the right letter in order to spell the word, and then they have to write that word at the end. So then they're writing nut at the end. And I really like this because they're in essence, they're decoding the image, the word that they're seeing there, they're decoding that word, and then they're writing that word by selecting the right letters, but also just decoding it in their minds to then write that on a letter line. So really cool there. Next, they have kind of like next page. I'm just kind of flipping through the pages. They have images, and they have an empty space to write the word. And up above, they have kind of a word list of words. In this case, it was 8 words, and they're focusing mainly on the. This is the review, so they're doing all the letters. So they'll have like words like cut, Dan, fix, nut, duck, mix, six, and fill. And then they have images that correspond to those words below. And then the reader, the learner, has to go up and see, okay, this is what this word is doing. And so it's like, say it's fill. Again, they have the pitcher pouring the water in. And a lot of times they will pull back similar images. So they recycle images a lot of times. So your learner starts to get comfortable with associating that image with that word. And so again, they have to know, okay, that's fill. I need to go up to the list of words. I need to read the words and say, where's Phil? Where's Phil? Where's Phil? Phil. Oh, there's Phil. They have to find that word. Then they have to write that word down below. Again, this is great, like word association, decoding, finding words, understanding, looking for the right words. Really cool. The next is kind of like a reading section. So they have to read a whole sentence. Can I fill a cup up? And so you have to say yes or no. Okay, you can either say yes or no, and sometimes they're weird sounds like, can a pig add 6 and 6? Well, obviously no, pigs can't add.
So this is testing a little bit of reading comprehension.
Unless you got a really smart pig. Will a duck pass a bus? Only when they're flying. So like they can either say yes or no, and then they can make the argument on whether or not it's true or not.
Yeah,
it's kind of fun. I like it. It was instead of reading stories, they had to kind of do these like reading sentences. But learner really, really liked doing these. She liked reading the words. I don't know I wish there were maybe a little bit more stories in this.
Well, and so I was going to talk a little bit about, so this is the Explode the Code book, but in the Explode the Code... And then there's
a few more pages with similar activities. And eventually, one of my favorite ones is at the end of the lesson, is just the image, and they have to write the word that associates to it. There's no reference of a bunch of words. The word is not there for them to figure out the letters. They just have to look at it, and they have to write cup. It's almost like a spelling test. And in this case, I think there are like 6 or 7 examples here that she had to do. And, it's basically a spelling test. She's just looking at the picture and saying, well, what is that? That's a cap or a cup or a bun or it's cutting or mixing. And she's got to source the letters in her mind. She's got to write it correctly. She's decoding it. And then she has to read it. I always had her read it to me. What did you write? Tell me what you wrote. That type of thing. And that's basically one kind of quote unquote lesson or chapter. And then that repeats itself throughout the book.
So Explode the Code being these exercises, just like you've explained, which I think is great. So everyone can kind of get an idea in their mind what this does.
Hopefully that came through pretty clear.
Yeah. I think so. Hopefully it did for all of you. I had the fortunate position of being able to look at it while he was talking, but we'll try to do a video on this maybe at some point.
We went through it so quick. I don't know if you ever actually saw her doing this.
I've seen a little bit of it.
Okay.
So in the Explode, just kind of to frame this, in the Explode the Code curriculum framework, right? You have that getting ready for the code books that are all letter sounds. Then you have Explode.
And we haven't done those.
We have not done those. We'll probably do them with our younger learner when it's her turn. And then you have Explode the Code, which is just what we talked about. Then there is a series called Beyond the Code, and those are books that are meant to go with Explode the Code. You do them you can do them concurrently, or you can do one right after the other. But that's where you get into reading snippets and reading comprehension. Yeah. So that's the beyond the code. And then Explode the Code also has, they have level 1, level 2, whatever. They also have half levels. So they have level 1.5, which is going to be the same material as level 1, but it's a bunch of different exercises, looking at things in new ways, right? So just coming at it from a new angle, but not learning any new material. So you really have the opportunity with this series, if you wanted to teach those letter sounds and then go into teaching the phonics, get extra practice for the phonics, and then bring in reading comprehension. So there's all these different pieces. I think one of the things that's really nice about Explode the Code, and why we'll continue to do it, is it seemed to be a good, effective review for our daughter. Also, every one of these books is like $8 on Rainbow Resources. They're super affordable. So for us, that's kind of a no-brainer. I mean, yes, technically, if you wanted to get everything that went with level 1, you'd have level 1 and 1.5 and beyond. So, okay, it's $25 to get all 3 pieces for level 1. But I think that overall it's a really good value, which makes it easier to justify doing it. So, so just a little bit about it. But I think that it's a worthwhile book. Our daughter has enjoyed it, and it's given her some opportunity to really prove her mastery of different pieces in exercises in ways that All About Reading or 100 Lessons didn't challenge her. So I think it's good to kind of come at things from different angles.
And we're using it in a review framework. So a lot of you may be looking for your primary curriculum. And I don't know the experience there with, your learner learning those letters or those sounds for the first time. Obviously I've done 2 separate kindergarten, quasi first grade curriculums with my daughter, and now I'm doing this as just a kind of a review mechanism. So I got to see her in a mastery sense and kind of a review sense, but also like putting that within the same understanding of where she was, a year or a year and a half or 2 years ago when we first started the All About Reading curriculum, and where would she have struggled, or how would she have done here? I would have definitely had to do the books there, like the pre-learning books, so that she can get all the letter sounds. I don't think she would have been able to do this by just starting, where she was at the beginning of All About Reading, because All About Reading just assumes you don't know anything. And you just come in, here's your first letter sound. It's the letter S, and the letter A and the letter, I think, T. I don't know. They had just 3 or 4 letters.
M is usually very early.
Yeah. I think it was that first 2 lessons covers M, A, S and T, and there might be one other in there.
Yes, I think so, because the Bob books, right? There's Sam Sat.
Yeah, Sam Sat. Yeah, it's
Sam Sat.
It was like Bob level
Matt.
stuff. So there's no way that my daughter could have started here. I would have had to do the before this level books for the Explode the Code. But if your learner knows all the letter sounds and they're pretty comfortable with that, and you've done some basic phonics work with them, and they're starting into that kind of early reading stage, I definitely see this being helpful. But I think my daughter would have struggled with this if she had not had the phonics base.
Yeah, I was wondering what you thought about this as like a standalone, only do this, as opposed to the way we're using it in a review capacity.
Yeah, I think as a standalone, you have to use those previous curriculums if that's the first time your student is learning any type of phonetics base. I would not start your learner on this book. This is obviously somebody who knows, A through Z, all the sounds. Again, they did not have any second or third order sounds associated in this book. There were no long vowel sounds. There were no letter combination sounds where it's like SH or CH or things of that nature, QU. There was none of that in this book.
Yeah, that's probably next level.
That might be the next, or maybe I think it's even like the 3rd or 4th book where they get into that. And so you can start to think about, when we were looking at the next book in this series, I was trying to put it in the framework of, where does that exist within the All About Reading Blue series that we have done. And I think the 2nd book, and maybe even a little bit into that 3rd book in the Explode the Code, is the entirety of the All About Reading curriculum.
Yeah, I feel like All About Reading goes further than other curriculums do for each level. I think there's 52 lessons, and it's pretty comprehensive. We've been kind of doing the same plan with both reading and math where we've done the most comprehensive curriculum first, like all about reading, and then Right Start Math. And then we're moving on to other workbook-based curriculums that are going to help us approach something from a different angle, teach it in a way that, she's not seeing it for the first time. I like some of these, doing it that way. Could you just do Explode the Code? If you did all the prepare for the code stuff and knew all the letter sounds, you could absolutely do that
without a doubt.
I think for us, we are liking the kind of comprehensive base that we're building, and then using these books, which are very affordable, as that kind of review and reinforcement.
Yeah. So like if you're approaching this, like what you said, if you did the the Before the Code books and then you went ahead and started this book, like with how much are you doing in a day-to-day basis? Doing 1 or 2 pages a day, is a very easy pace.
Yeah, this does not require a lot of the parent. No. I mean, and that's one thing that both of those other curriculums, while they are, we believe, very comprehensive basis to give, they are very parent intensive, both of them.
I noticed towards the end, especially the last, like today when we finished it, she did 4 pages all by herself. Right. Yeah. Like I would sit there and I would tell her, but at this point she knew the motions, because there's a lot of repetition in the activities, but the physical thing that she's doing is different, but she just intuitively knew what she had to do towards the end. So I could sit there and prep for something else while she did these few pages as kind of a review. So by the very end, she was really self-driving this workbook. Right. I liked it from that standpoint. I liked it from the review standpoint. So if you're looking to maybe add something to your summer curriculum, or you're trying to do some mastery exercises, I really like this. If you're going to use this as your primary curriculum, absolutely start with Before the Code?
Yeah, and getting ready for the code.
Getting ready for the code
type thing. There's like 3 different, but it's the ABC levels.
And definitely get the half. Well, you said there was like a half increment.
Like there's a half, and if you don't need more reinforcement, if your kid blazes through it, then that's not necessary. But again, $8. Why not?
You said there were short stories and reading comprehension.
That's in Beyond the Code.
Beyond the Code. Okay.
Yeah.
So I would.
We're going to be doing that next. So
I would definitely. Tuned. I would. If that felt like the one thing that was missing, because if you're thinking from the standpoint of, what does All About Reading do? They have the phonics, they have the activities, and then they have the reading supplementals that come with it. And that is like a synergy there is really helpful. And then they also have the letter cards. That's the one thing I wonder if like the, Before the Code books, they have more, repetition in learning the sounds. That's really, I think that's something that All About Reading does really well, is they have those cards and they have all the letter cards. And I really like the idea of reviewing and repetition, because, just showing them the card or the letter one time, or doing an activity one day, does not necessarily mean that they're going to master that sound. It's going to take a lot of times to keep repeating and keep seeing and keep exposing for them to actually, grok the sound and be able to use it and implement it. Especially with my older daughter. I'm actually, the funny thing is with my 3-year-old, I'm starting to do some pre-letter sounds with her. And she seems to have like more of like kind of a photogenic memory. So she's just jumping on letter sounds really fast, and she's 3 and whatever. I struggled at that with my oldest. So a little bit different learning style. So it's kind of funny how I'm going to have to start to adapt to a different learning style soon. But with this book, I really wish there was like the supplemental. So hopefully we'll get into those other books where maybe there's some reading, there's some short stories that they can read.
We'll come back and talk about those once we do those.
Yeah, they can apply the skills that they're doing. But that being said, Explode the Code, definitely a cool curriculum. Price point is right there, very affordable. Obviously, for $30 or $40 total out the door with all the books and shipping and tax, you can't go wrong with that. Mm-hmm. I don't have the problem with that. If your learner likes doing workbooks, they're kind of a, they don't need a heavy hand if they like to do things on their own. That's really good for them. It is lacking a little bit on the cards, so you may have to like supplement that in other ways, maybe some flashcards and stuff if you want to practice your letter sounds. If that's something that your learner needs to do, that's maybe something you have
practice your words.
Practice your words. That was another thing that All About Reading does. They have a lot of tear out cards for words, and also sight words. They like to incorporate a little bit of sight words right up front. I think those first 5 or 6 lessons, they introduce the A and the, so they can add those into stories. I know Bob Books does that pretty early as well. I think on the second or third book, they start to add in some sight words right up front. So coupling this with some early readers like Bob Books, I think it's a good thing to do. So you may have to combine this because there's so many books and you have to kind of piecemeal, in some respect, all the activities and all the things as versus say like an all about reading, which is just like you get the curriculum, you get everything that you need to do the curriculum. And it's from 0 to reading at the end. You may have to like figure out what you need here. There's
a little bit more piecing this together.
Yeah, I wish they maybe you just got to go through and just say, hey, if I'm just
there are bundles. If
bundles,
you go to like Rainbow Resource, which I love to buy things from Rainbow Resource, by the way, they've got some really great stuff there. There's different bundles that you can get. There's teacher guides as well if you feel that you need that. Yeah. So we ended up kind of doing this more piecemeal, and you could do it that way, or you could bundle something and buy several levels at once. I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I would probably, if you're starting out and you want this to be your curriculum, and you can't go wrong with this. I really liked it. It was super.
Super we were really happy with it.
I was happy with it. We're going to continue with All About Reading as our main curriculum, but we're going to be using Explode the Code. I think is sort of
and we'll grab Beyond the Code as well and do that because I think it's worked really well for our daughter, and we're kind of in this stage of wanting to help her review before we go on and teach her more.
Yeah, I'm starting to get into this. Like, okay, I got a main curriculum, and I got these little satellite moons that kind of orbit around, and they're at little workbooks and activities that kind of reinforce things. And I like.
And they're different. They keep things.
They keep it loose and different. Like, I love the
mix it up.
I love again the thing that All About Reading does not do very much at all is the handwriting. Like, there's almost none of that in that curriculum. And
because it's all like letter tile based.
I'm trying to think. Like, is there any handwriting?
There's no handwriting.
There's almost no handwriting
because they have the letter tiles either physical or on the app, and those are what they would manipulate to make the words, which I think is great, and especially for younger learners, I think that those manipulatives are awesome. But like you said, it doesn't help us with handwriting. So I do like that this also has that ability.
This by far blows. Even the 100 lessons. 100 lessons has a lot of handwriting as well, especially at the end of the lesson. They do some handwriting, but it's really just, write this letter, right? It's not like full on handwriting where you're writing sentences and whatnot, or you're writing words. This does that. And this is, I'm very impressed with this, like from respect to the handwriting. So if handwriting is an important thing for you, or if it's something you want to reinforce with respect to your phonics curriculum, Explode to Code has a lot of handwriting in here, and they're going to be doing a lot of it. I think, in a 100-page book, she might have written 1,000 words, right? And that's just a lot of repetition, a lot of time on paper, a lot of time on pencil. So, and it's because it's a workbook and they're constantly circling and scrolling or Xing or copying words and stuff like that. There's a lot of where she's doing the workbook with the pencil in her hand, with the idea that I'm going to be writing and while I'm learning to read and sound things out and do the activity. So I think it's very connective in that respect because your learner is actually really, really, really focusing on doing the actual work. And it almost feels like they're vested in what they're doing in that moment, as opposed to All About Reading where it's more Socratic, in that respect, where I'm asking her questions and we're coming back and forth and we're practicing and we're doing activities together and we're asking questions and we're doing little manipulatives and stuff. It did have a different feel. And so, depending on what your learner likes and what they enjoy, Explode the Code may be a little bit better for them.
I kind of feel like this is a little bit analogous to Math Mammoth in the same way. Like Right Start and All About Reading are both very manipulative based and very teacher heavy. And then Math Mammoth and Explode the Code are workbook based, heavy on handwriting, lots of review and repetition in those, not as much moving on to new concept every other time, but, really practice. So I think does that seem fair? Does that seem like a decent analogy?
I think it's a great analogy. Yeah, it's very hands-on for All About Reading. This is more, it's hands-on in the sense that you have your hands on a pencil most of the time.
it's workbook based though, but I think that there's a spot for all of these things, and that's why I like that we get to try a bunch of things.
Yeah, it feels like we're kind of at the buffet and we're just trying a bunch of things. What I like about that type of mentality is that it allows us to try different things and angle things towards our daughter that maybe help reinforce certain things in certain ways that maybe benefit her for that topic, but then, okay, over here, we're going to get back into our cards and our phonics and our word stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I love attacking the same thing from different directions, because we do move through these curriculums pretty fast. That's been something I've realized, just as an aside, is that we do move through these curriculums very fast. And I don't know if maybe we should slow down and then spend more time on that subject, but sometimes I feel like I lose my daughter when, like, if I'm not moving fast enough.
Yeah, she's learned it. She's ready to go on to something new.
She's ready to go on, and I don't want to slow her down.
It's kind of nice. So you pull out something like this or another workbook.
This can artificially slow down the curriculum that you feel you may be going fast through, in the sense that, okay, when I sit down and we do our reading work, we start with a page or two of Explode the Code, and then we get into all about reading, right? Like, using it as a way to fill more time and get more reinforcement, because you may feel like, oh, I could just do my entire all about reading in like 3 months, and then what am I going to do?
Right.
If you have that feeling, I love these type of books there. Or, if you've completed the curriculum and you want to reinforce it, you can just, again, do a different curriculum at the same time. Like, hit the first grade reading curriculum 3 or 4 times with 3 or 4 different curriculums.
Right. Because otherwise, at the speed that we move, we would either have to have breaks between what we're doing, and then we could have kind of lost ground and, lost momentum, or we would move so quickly that we would have a first grader doing, 3rd grade reading, and she's really not ready for that. Yeah. So this is a way to prolong that learning and come at it from different angles. And one of the advantages we have as homeschoolers, if she were in school, she'd only get to do one of these things. And hopefully it would work with her learning style and she would just grok it, because if not, there was not going to be alternate options. And the reason that we even got Explode the Code was one of the teachers at our parent partnership program. We were talking to her about our daughter just having some confidence issues, and
I think we were
struggling a little bit.
We didn't know where she sat.
Assessment-wise, we weren't sure.
We've talked about this, a little bit of a fear of like, oh, is she behind? Is she ahead? We don't know where she is.
We didn't really know. We knew that,
we understand there's no ahead or behind in homeschooling.
Yeah.
But like, we just wanted to know, like, are we keeping pace with where she, quote unquote, should be?
Well, more than anything, we wanted to make sure we weren't
doing a good job, or we weren't
failing her.
I'm failing her.
Like, she wasn't taking to reading as fastly as we had expected her to, considering how much she loves books. And so I had a meeting with one of the teachers at the school who's a reading expert, and at our parent partnership, and she recommended that we try Explode the Code, and she gave us a few games to play, which were also very helpful. We're not going to talk about the games because they're all out of print, so it would not be helpful to you. But she gave us these kind of different resources and said, why don't you just try it from this different, approach it from a different side. And I think that our daughter is doing wonderfully and right on track. I think it's just that our expectations might not have been correct. So good to sample and test things. And for $8, I don't think you could go wrong with giving it a try if you're interested in it.
And going back to that nuance that you just described, that's the beauty of the homeschooling, is that we can micro correct.
Sure.
And we don't have to let her go through a whole school year to find out that there's something wrong.
Exactly.
And we can sit here and going, okay, are we screwing up? Can we pivot? Can we change here? Can we do something different here? And those are the things we can do on the fly and make those changes. Like, we were just like going right into the all about reading, and it was getting a little frustrating.
Yeah. And I was like, why are we going into all about reading too, when she's not that comfortable? See, this is the hard thing. You may think, in hearing this, that we are really pushing our daughter to go way too fast. And the thing is that we're going at the pace which is appropriate for her. So she wants to go at a good, fast pace. Yeah. She gets bored if we don't go fast enough. So and she is successfully completing the lessons, right? We do a reading lesson and she gets through it, and the next day we start another one, and she wants to move at this speed. So we're trying desperately to keep up with her energy and interest in this, and trying to keep her engaged, but also we want to make sure we don't go too far because she's really not ready yet. So
she's not mastering those things.
She hasn't mastered it, but she still wants to move on. She wants to move faster. Otherwise she gets totally like bogged down.
She likes variety. I think that's one of the things that we're learning, is that she likes to move fast, but we're mimicking that speed by doing this kind of looping, cycling thing with this, using different curriculums to kind of reinforce the same concepts. She feels it's fresh and new, but really it's a review of what she's already done.
Right.
And it creates that confidence, that keyword that we were talking about, read with confidence.
Mm-hmm.
You know, building that confidence in reading and using the tools in her little, you know, Batgirl tool belt of phonics and all the things that she needs to learn to read. You know, when we're filling that out, she was really hesitant. Oh, which tool do I need right now? Now she's getting a lot more comfortable because she's seeing more of it. She's just one of those. I think we're learning, you know, because we're homeschoolers. We have to learn what's best for our kids. That she needs to loop back on things all the time. Yeah. And that is how she learns. She's
not willing to like take her time, slowly acquire something until she masters it, and then she's going to move on. She wants to like get it well enough that she successfully completes the lesson and then move forward. And like you said, we have to loop back if we really do want her to achieve some level of mastery with it.
She's not a big fan of memorizing things, like sitting down going, okay, A, B, A, B, A, B, C, A, B, 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 C. Like I still struggle with B and D. Like she just will not sit down and memorize it, right? That type of thing. My 3-year-old, I show her once and she's got it. Right. Yeah. It's a completely different learning style. So I'm having to like kind of come to grips with that.
They're just different. But you have to move fast with her. If you don't move fast enough, she just totally gets like
we have to move fast, but we can't move too fast because she won't get it. We have to loop back and so she can master it. And it's this weird paradox that we're having to.
It's almost like a trick, you know. It's like we're spicing it up by doing something different. Exactly. So I think that this is a really good option for folks that might be interested.
So let's end this long, you know, kind of a curriculum review by what we're into. So it's the YMCA, Ariel. YMCA.
Yeah,
I'm dancing. She's trying not to watch.
Oh, it's really bad, you guys.
It's
really bad.
It's so alluring. So her eyes can't avert.
Oh my gosh, yes. So you're so silly. I'm glad y'all can't see this dancing. It's really bad.
One day we'll be on the YouTube. So they'll see it.
We don't need to see it.
They're gonna love it.
So yeah, our local Y was having some zero join fees, and we had been members of the Y before the pandemic, but with it getting shut down and everything, it's finally opened back up, and we thought, you know what, we're gonna give this a chance again. We've been really pleasantly surprised. One of the things that is great about it is there is a kid zone. It's a childcare. And we used to get 2 hours a day, but now it's an hour and a half a day. It used to be it used to be 2 hours a day per parent, which you could really, but now it's just an hour and a half at our local Y. But one of the nice things is there's play in there, but there's also some educational stuff, coloring and doing different activities and having a good time. Our kids really love it. And then there's all the exercise classes. There's also kids sports. And I think for our youngest, 3 and 4-year-old sports are free when we have a membership. We were looking at, we talked a while back about camps as an option for summer. And we looked at like one camp as being, $240 for the week. It was only for one kid. And we were like, that's 2 full months at the YMCA. Yeah. And we could take both kids to Kids Zone. And we've been using the pool a lot. We've been swimming on the weekends as a family. There's swim lessons there, and everything is discounted since we're members. So yeah, we were kind of weighing like, what were we going to do for the summer? Our Y, and I don't know if this is universal across the country, but it has no membership like term. Like we don't have to be members for a year. We could just go. It's all month to month, and there's reciprocity with all of the Ys in
our county,
in the country. No, there's everywhere.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, you could go to any YMCA and you have your membership, and you could go. So if you were traveling, visit grandpa or something, you could use it. Mm-hmm. So, anyways, we've been really enjoying being back with the Y and it giving us something that we can do this summer. I know that we're leaning into it heavily as a great way to have some early activity for our kids every morning, and for you to get your self-care time to do your workout.
Listen to me, I've got to get big.
Yeah. So anyway, the muscles. It's really working out for us. But yeah, it seems like every other day we are there at the Y doing a workout, or I'm going and doing lap swimming, or the kids are going to Kids Zone. Right now we're all about the local YMCA. Thanks so much for joining us today and making us a part of your homeschool journey. Please engage with us on social media. Join our Homeschool Together podcast group on Facebook and find us at Homeschool Together Podcast on Instagram. We'd love to hear your feedback, questions, and recommendations. Until next time,
happy homeschooling!